If you're looking for a space to connect with a community focused on creativity and well-being, you're in the right place. Welcome to A Concept View, the podcast, where we talk about creativity, intentional living, and self-expression. I'm your host, Michaela Ayana. Welcome to the playground. Today, we are going to be exploring what it looks like to slow down and rebuild after burnout. Last episode, we talked a little bit about my return. I took a 6-week sabbatical from work, from life, honestly, and I am in a season now of rebuilding a routine that works and serves and supports who I am today. So we're gonna get a little bit into that. I'm gonna talk about this framework that I have been using as a reminder to slow down, and it's been super helpful for reconnecting with my body, reconnecting with my routine, and also creating healthier habits that help to support a more gentle way of living. So let's get into today's episode. The first segment that I want to talk about today is really setting an intention. I feel like when you think about burnout and you think about how exhausted you may feel at the very depth of that burnout, it's really hard to imagine or see the light that's at the end of the tunnel sometimes. And so what I've realized in my rest and my return to self is this is an ongoing process. You're going to return, you're going to rebuild, and you're going to move forward over and over and over again. And so we're going to talk about that second step of rebuilding to help build a framework that fits your lifestyle, fits where you're at right now and where you're trying to go. For me, what that looks like is intentionally slowing down, building a life that is slow and purpose-led, that allows me to move at a pace that I feel comfortable moving at. So we're shifting from this idea of the return to the idea of the rebuild. The framework that I've been using to help guide this next phase, this rebuild phase in my burnout recovery, is what I'm calling MPH, which normally stands for miles per hour. But in this, we're using it as a reminder to slow down. So the M stands for movement, the P stands for pace, and then the H stands for healthy habits. So I'm using these three foundational pieces as a means to anchor my return, anchor this act of rebuilding, and really allow myself to focus on specific things that I know that are going to take me into the next chapter. So first, starting off with movement, this is where we are thinking about in what ways can you move your body? How does it feel when you express yourself through movement? When I think of movement, I think of this as a means to help relieve stress in my body. Also, obviously, it is healthy to move. It is healthy to work out, to exercise, but I think sometimes I have to, especially in this season, in this era of rebuilding, I have to take things down to their building blocks, to the baseline levels, to rebuilding a foundation that I can consistently add on to in the form of my routine. And this really starts off with movement. When I think about movement, I think about the ways that I can engage with the world around me, but also thinking about how I can deepen my connection with myself in a way that speaks to where I'm at right now, energy-wise. So, for example, in high school, I ran track, and I was just very on top of my workouts, but it wasn't something that I necessarily enjoyed. It was just something that I did because I knew if I did not condition, if I did not train well, I wasn't going to be able to perform the best that I needed to perform in my races. And while I didn't think of it that way, I knew it was still something that was important to my health, and so I did it. Now, in the space that I'm in, I think about movement as something that I enjoy, something that helps me to reconnect with my body and give me a sense of joy. So this week, what that has looked like is doing gentle yoga and stretching or going on a walk, though I have not gone on a walk in a really long time. So we're going to pick that back up. But I have really focused on gentle yoga practices that have helped me get out of my head and more into my body at a level that fits where my energy was this week. And that's all I could give. That's all I wanted to do. And so when I think about movement, I use it as a way to regulate myself, especially in stressful times. A lot of stress when it comes to burnout is from outside sources that we cannot really control. And I used movement, or have been using movement, as something that I can control, as something that I know I can tackle. I can decide what type of movement I want to do. I can decide who I want to do movement with. That is something that I have complete control over. And so I'm able to choose what I want to do that brings me joy, but also allows me to move my body. So one thing that's been helpful, and I kind of alluded to this already, is cycle syncing. This is something that I had been familiar with before. And if you're not familiar, this is essentially specifically for people with vaginas, where you are syncing the areas of your cycle with the movement, or with the way that you fuel your body in each level. No, not level. In each area of your cycle. So there's follicular, there's ovulatory, there's luteal, and then, of course, your menstrual. Each phase of your cycle, there are different levels of energy, different levels, different things that your body needs in those times based on the levels of your hormones. While that may differ a little bit person to person, those phases are what you will see in your cycle. And that's just what I've been using lately to help guide the way that I move my body more aligned with my cycle. Take that as you wish. This is just something that works for me and supports the idea of our first pillar of our foundation that we're going to talk about today. The second piece that we're going to get into is pace. So when we're thinking about pace, we're thinking about, how are you operating right now? Are you operating in an anxiety-inducing pace, or are you slowing down? What does slow even mean to you? When I think about my burnout, I always say that I was just moving 1,000 miles an hour, quite literally. And I think that there is a lot to be gained in slowing down, where you can focus on the things that are rooting you in the present a lot easier, but also you are relieving yourself of an expectation to move at a certain pace that just does not fit where you are. So I feel like, because things were moving too fast for me, that noticing that pace was just not serving me was an easy way for me to recalibrate. That's what I meant to say. To recalibrate my baseline and to move at a pace that just works for me. So if today that looks like resting, that looks like sleeping in a little bit, if tomorrow that looks like, I'm moving a little bit faster, I have to-dos on my list that I want to get done, I'm moving at a pace that serves where I'm at. I'm meeting myself where I'm at. And when you think of rest, when you think of recovery, rest does not equal laziness. Rest does not equal laziness. I think there is a certain stigma or a certain fault that we kind of add to rest, especially in a time when we're trying to hustle. We're trying to get to the next point, to the next, goal in our life, in our journey. But I think it's very important, especially leading into the last quarter of the year, to think about, how can I slow down and set myself up for reaching my goals, for doing the things that I want to do, for accomplishing the things that I want to do in a way that is sustainable. Almost tripped up on my word. In a way that is sustainable. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if your body is telling you you need to rest and you need to rest now, it's gonna do that one way or the other. What I've been trying to do now is really, really focus on that. And I think that pours directly into my pace, into slowing down, is recognizing when I need rest and when to take that rest. The last pillar of our foundation is H, creating healthy habits. When we're thinking about healthy habits, we're thinking of how can you rebuild a routine with healthy building blocks? While our routines may change, they help to give us structure and help to give us comfort in a way that supports the person that we are today. When I think about my own healthy habits, what has been easy for me to incorporate into my routine has been movement, has been rest, has been journaling. My creative practices, even this as a creative outlet, is something that has been helpful in rebuilding my routine. Eating healthy, doing things that I know make my body feel good, but also I know are just inherently good for me. I consider the habits that I have already set. And of course, there'll be times when, I'm lounging around on the couch a little bit too much, or I am indulging in a lot of sweet treats, or maybe today I just didn't, move my body as much as I wanted to. While those one-off days and instances may happen, the most important thing is understanding that routine, consistency does not always look like it's something you're doing every day. What it looks like and what it means is you are returning to a baseline, you are returning to something that is a ritual for your well-being, even though you have those days where you just need to rest, where you just need to be lazy and not have a care in the world for your responsibilities. Sometimes we need those off days to help us re-regulate. And I think that's also a part of rest, allowing yourself the space to fall off of your routine and then, of course, tweak your routine and rebuild it in a way that fits where you are. I feel like that is the constant return of this cycle of rebuilding a routine that fits the person that you are today, that allows you to meet yourself where you are and understand that your routine may evolve. It may change over time, and that's okay because that's naturally how things happen. So as your routine evolves, as you evolve, you have to learn to go with that flow. And that is the last pillar of the foundation, healthy habits. So in wrapping this episode up, I do want to leave you with our foundation. So miles per hour, or MPH. We're now calling this movement, pace, and healthy habits. With this foundation in mind, what is one small thing that you can do over the next 2 weeks that allows you to move with a more intentional way of life? I think this is a perfect thing to reflect on, to journal on, and to use to help rebuild your routine and reconnect with yourself. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching, you're a real one. I don't know why I am so nervous to talk to the camera and just to be here. Like I'm excited to get more comfortable talking to the camera, to get more comfortable in really investing myself in this podcast and using it as a way to express my journey. One thing that I've been doing lately, which I've talked a little bit about, is my wellness coaching certification, which honestly has been bringing me so much joy and has been really, really helpful in reconnecting the things that I have already been talking about, have already been preaching about, but giving me more of like a scientific basis on the things that I know to be true. And it's just very validating to learn and go through the chapters and soak up all of this knowledge and know that I was already on the right path. Like I was already on track. I've been known, basically. I've been known. And I think it's just really fun to learn, to explore, this area of wellness and be able to use those practices and add those tidbits into this podcast. So I'm excited. We're gonna see where wellness coach Mac, goes next, but we're learning, we're growing, and we're evolving. So thank you for being here on this journey. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Concept You, the podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with your loved ones. For more, connect with us on Instagram at aconceptyou or visit michaelacreates.com/ACY. Until next time, take care.